The Eiken Pre first grade test is a difficult test to pass. The jump from Eiken second grade to Eiken Pre first in terms of the level of English proficiency required is significant by any measure. The Eiken Pre first grade test is, I believe, more difficult partly because it exceeds the level of English generally taught at Japanese high schools. You may spend hundreds of hours learning English, even 1,000, yet you may not be learning the skills necessary to pass the pre-first grade test at your place of formal education. You may need a new approach. With the correct approach though, passing the pre-first grade test is a piece of cake. One tactic is scoring high marks in the composition problem by writing a simple and decent essay. I will show you how right now. Sample problem. First, I have to make a disclaimer statement. The class here, including the suggested sample answer and solutions, are presented by me independent of the testing institution, Eiken Foundation of Japan, and they are not endorsed by the institution. I cannot be held liable for any consequences arising from your use of this video. Now, here is the sample problem. Do you agree or disagree high school students should wear a school uniform? There are a few requisites in connection with the question. You have to use 2 points out of 4 points listed to make your argument. The essay must have the introduction, main body, and conclusion structure with the suggested word count of 120 to 150. Structure. Now let's settle on the structure of the essay more in details. Based on the suggested word count, I would divide the essay, for example, into 30 words for the introduction, 50 words each for body 1 and body 2, and 20 words for the conclusion, totaling 150 words. 150 is the upper end, so you have some leeway. Sample answer. Here is one sample answer that you can write. I agree with the idea that uniforms should be compulsory for high school students, and I have 2 reasons for this opinion. Firstly, wearing a uniform can encourage students to study harder and behave well in school. They can feel like they are really part of the school. Wearing normal clothes can be distracting during class. It also helps prepare them for their future jobs when they will have to keep to a dress code. Secondly, though students may not be able to express their individuality through their clothing, having a uniform can help stop bullying based on what students wear. Students don't have to worry about what they wear to school every day. For these reasons, I believe it is best for high school students to wear a school uniform, 131 words. Composition requirements. Let's discuss the composition requirements first. You must write an essay in direct response to the question. If you write an essay discussing things that are totally irrelevant to the question, then your writing will not be positively scored. Next, your essay must have between 120 to 150 words. If you write more than 150 words, I think you are wasting your time. Writing an essay that has less than 120 words you should expect would be detrimental to your marks. Your argument should include 2 of the points listed in the question. That leaves us with the essay structure as suggested in the previous table. 4 paragraphs in total, with 30 words for the introduction, 50 words each for body 1 and body 2, and 20 words for the conclusion. Preparation. Plan the essay before you start writing. In writing any essay, it is important to plan and draw a map, so to speak, in your mind or physically onto the paper. Write down keywords that form your arguments. Without a plan, you may end up writing a disorganized essay with little coherence, resulting in poor quality. Sure, the essay writing here is testing your English, but its structure are conditions given as a part of the problem, and the cohesion and coherence of your work is one of the scoring criteria. You must write an essay in which you have a consistent logic. Based on the instructions given in the program, it is advisable that you construct your essay with 4 paragraphs, with the introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and the conclusion. Your time in preparation should be primarily planning these 2 body paragraphs. Spend a few minutes and decide on how you will develop your arguments in each of the body paragraphs. Note several keywords. Thesis statement. Do you agree that high school students should wear a school uniform, or do you disagree? Before you make a hasty decision, you should look at the points listed in the question and how you can best develop your arguments based on these possible points. The graders of your essay are interested in how well you write your English. They are not interested in what kind of person you are. Whether your essay response is positive to the given statement or negative does not count. Choose whichever position is easier for you to write the essay about. Theoretically, there is a third position in which you may answer, it depends. But unless you are confident that you can develop a consistent argument, the middle ground position is not a good idea. The length of the essay is very limited, so probably you do not have enough space to make a complicated argument. Introduction paragraph. I agree with the idea that uniforms should be compulsory for high school students, and I have 2 reasons for this opinion. Considering the limited number of words required for writing this essay, and the level of English proficiency that most of the test takers are expected to have, the introduction can be very simple. In this example, I took the positive answer stance. You can start the introduction paragraph with the thesis statement, directly responding to the given statement. I added, and I have 2 reasons for this opinion. This is optional, but by inserting this text, you can increase the word count, taking it closer to the target. There are other ways to increase the content in the introduction. One recommendation is to include the opposing views before you make a thesis statement. For example, although understandably many would prefer to go to school wearing casual clothes, I agree with the idea that uniforms should be compulsory for high school students. This will give you an additional 12 words nicely. In the example here, rather than simply copying the given statement in the writing, I wrote, uniforms should be compulsory for high school students. This technique is called paraphrase, expressing the same meaning in a different sentence structure or with synonyms. It is recommendable to do so if you can, but I do not believe it so important to worry much about it at this level of the test. Body 1 paragraph. Firstly, wearing a uniform can encourage students to study harder and behave well in school. They can feel like they are really part of the school. Wearing normal clothes can be distracting during class. It also helps prepare them for their future jobs when they will have to keep to a dress code. The body is the core of the essay. The problem directions dictate that you must use 2 points from the list, so it will be prudent to divide the body into 2 paragraphs, each paragraph discussing 1 topic. In this case, I picked up educational effects for the first paragraph. A paragraph should only deal with 1 topic. For the purpose of Eiken Pre first grade writing test, you will start with a short topic sentence. I wrote, firstly, wearing a uniform can encourage students to study harder and behave well in school. With this sentence, I made it clear to the graders that the topic in this paragraph is educational effects. After the topic sentence, I will add a few sentences that can support my case. In this example, a few sentences follow that seemingly are not directly related to each other, but all these texts focus on one point, that wearing uniforms has a behavioral advantage. Body to paragraph. Secondly, though students may not be able to express their individuality through their clothing, having a uniform can help stop bullying based on what students wear. Students don't need to worry about what they wear to school every day. Most of the principles applicable to Body 1 also apply to Body 2. Now, I should raise the second point on which I want to elaborate for one of the reasons why I made the thesis statement. In this case, the second point raised is individualism. I argued that while wearing a uniform may inhibit students from expressing their individuality somewhat, it has more important positive effects. If the test taker is a small child, he may find it difficult to construct abstract logic. If abstract arguments are difficult to combine in your mind, you may include a story of your personal experience. Specific examples and personal experience always work well and sound convincing as long as they are relevant to the topic and support your arguments. Your personal stories do not have to be based on fact. It is an English test after all. Transition words. In the sample essay, the body paragraphs start with first and second respectively. These words or phrases serve to make it easy for readers to follow the logic by linking sentences or paragraphs, and are called transition words, phrases, or discourse markers. Effective use of transition words, phrases, or discourse markers is one of the criteria specifically mentioned in the testing institution's scoring guidelines. Transition words make the flow of the author's thought and logic easy to follow, improving the cohesion of the essay. You should have some of these discourse markers ready to be used in your essay. Conclusion paragraph. For these reasons, I believe it is best for high school students to wear a school uniform. The conclusion paragraph is to conclude the argument. There are a number of words or phrases that you can use for the discourse marker, indicating that the conclusion is to come. To conclude, in conclusion, to summarize, all in all, for these reasons, in short, etc. It doesn't matter which one you use, and you can use the same one in pretty much all cases. In effect, it will be a restatement of the thesis that you wrote in the introduction paragraph. Paraphrase it so that it is effective and not boring. Do not introduce any new discussion points. Practice makes perfect. I suggest that you follow the essay structure suggested here and keep the text short, simple, and grammatically correct. After writing your essay, do not forget to check your work to eliminate any misspelling, inappropriate use of words, grammatical errors, etc. While minor mistakes may not be penalized much, well-refined text, free from errors, certainly will give a good impression to the graders. Creative writing is not required here. Stick to the basics and write a solid essay that is easy for the test graders to evaluate. This concludes my lesson today. At Myer英会話 School, we also have qualified native speakers of English who can help you improve your English writing skills and guide you through to passing the Eiken Pre first grade test. Thank you for watching.